What's going on, guys, and welcome back to my Friday Night SmackDown review. Today for Friday, November 13th, 2020, I am Graham G. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Although it did fall on Friday the 13th, I did not think this was a bad episode of SmackDown at all, despite being rewritten reportedly very early on in the day. And I say reportedly, but you don't even have to read reports or rumors to tell that these shows are rewritten hours before they go live. It was a pretty apparent issue with SmackDown like around a year ago when Eric Bischoff, I think, was still involved in the writing process. Then it became a problem with Raw. And the issue with Raw is that Raw is just not a great show most weeks. SmackDown, even with the rewrites and the constant, we have no idea what's about to happen on the show before it happens, it's still like a very good show. Like, I thought this was a good show. Not the strongest SmackDown I've seen in the last month or so, but I thought it was still pretty good overall. Maybe it was the fact that I skipped over the commercials, but it felt like a very concise, effective episode in terms of building up Survivor Series, adding new members to Team SmackDown for the women. No mention of who's the final man for the men's team of SmackDown at Survivor Series. I have no idea what's going on with that. I've seen some speculation from fans, no like reports or anything, that it could be The Undertaker on the exact 30-year anniversary. I mean, yeah, I know he was synonymous with SmackDown for such a long time. He debuted in an elimination match. Do I really want to see him fighting for brand supremacy? Not really. Honestly, I think the Boneyard match was the best way for him to go out. I guess it could be him. Maybe. I still think it could and should be Big E. Maybe Lars Sullivan, but I think Big E would make more sense in my opinion. Big E was on the show in a backstage segment with the Street Profits, and I know I'm all over the place here. He was in a backstage segment with the Street Profits talking about Profits and New Day potentially happening in the pay-per-view, and it might not even fucking matter. All of this stuff with the Profits and Big E, while entertaining, may not even matter, because we might end up getting, and it's very likely we get the Hurt Business versus the Profits at Survivor Series, that the Hurt Business beat New Day for the Raw Tag Team titles on Monday's Raw. So I feel like all of that's kind of pointless, but nonetheless, I thought this was a good show. Zelina Vega, this is worth mentioning here, SmackDown Superstar, was released last night right before SmackDown. I mean, the news went public right before SmackDown went live, like around 6 o'clock, I think. I just got back. I actually bought a PlayStation 2 last night. Again, I'm all over the place here, but I bought a PS2. For a pretty decent price, and I've been looking for one for the longest time. I have SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, just got back from doing that and some other stuff, and then I find out Zelina Vega was released, and the whole unionization tweet, I mean, obviously probably had something to do with that, not the tweet itself, but maybe having to do with the Twitch stuff. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Reportedly, though, she was released far earlier on in the day, not right out. That is worth mentioning, just because she is a SmackDown superstar. She wasn't on SmackDown last night because she got fired earlier on in the day. Very likely she didn't quit, it seems like. And it wasn't because of the tweet. It probably did have something to do with unionization and stuff like that, but it wasn't because of the tweet. The tweet came out fucking, 10 minutes before they released it. That was just a matter of circumstance. But anyway, Zelina Vega's gone from WWE. There's really not much more to say on the situation until more comes out about it. She was on Twitch last night. How this affects her husband, Aleister Black, how it affects her husband, Aleister Black, rather, is going to be interesting because he's also on SmackDown. He got drafted a month ago. We have not seen him on the show at all. And I think I said last week or the week before, he would be a great final man for Team SmackDown, if not Big E. We have not even seen him in any qualifying matches. He hasn't wrestled on SmackDown. The last time we saw Aleister Black was on that first SmackDown post-draft. He was on the stage. He may have run out to the ring with all the rest of the roster, and that was it. He has not been on SmackDown since then. Before that, he was on Raw, facing Kevin Owens in a no DQ match, and he lost. He actually lost all 3 matches that he had with Kevin Owens on Raw. So clearly WWE does not view him as a priority. Reportedly, and I take this not even with a grain of salt, but I take this pretty credibly because WrestleVotes is usually correct on a lot of stuff. They reported after the Zelina Vega news broke last night that reportedly Aleister Black wanted to go back to NXT, asked to go back to NXT, and was denied. So it seems like there is some dissension in the ranks there in WWE with Vega, Black, the company. More on that as it develops, but it is worth mentioning because they are 2 SmackDown stars, one of which is no longer there. And the other one, will he request his release? I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think he's a great fit for WWE, Aleister Black. There's a lot of potential there. So if they were to let him go, that's a big blow to the roster. But for him to even ask is alarming, considering he's only been on the main roster for a year and a half. And with the way that he's been booked in the last couple of months, I do not blame him one bit for wanting to go back to NXT. But going back to SmackDown from Friday, again, I thought it was a good show. Maybe it was partly due to the fact that I skipped over a lot of video packages and replays and the entrances and shit like that, because I watched it literally 40 minutes late and I still caught up to SmackDown. I caught up to speed by the time it was over, which is kind of crazy. But we opened the show with Roman Reigns being interrupted by Drew McIntyre. Now, that was a pleasant surprise. Now, I hate when Raw superstars show up on SmackDown and vice versa. You had to know it was going to happen en route to Survivor Series. We have yet to get any big brawl or invasion that we get literally every fucking year. We have not gotten that yet on either Raw or SmackDown. There is still 1 week to go. I'm positive it's going to happen on one of the two shows next week. The brand supremacy stuff at this point just means absolutely nothing, so it's hard to care. But I thought this was well done. And it honestly enforced even more that I want to see McIntyre beat Randy Orton to win back the WWE Championship on Raw this week, not only because it makes more sense to have Drew as champion than Randy, because there's plenty more challenges for Drew than there is for Randy, but also so we get Drew and Roman at Survivor Series. Now, Roman and Reigns could be good too. They have good chemistry. They've had solid matches in the past. The heel versus heel dynamic just doesn't really do much for me. Granted, Bryan and Lesnar was a heel and heel dynamic 2 years ago at Survivor Series, and they fucking killed it. But Bryan and Lesnar is not Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. It's two totally different matches. I think Drew and Roman would be the better match. And yeah, the WrestleMania match didn't light the world on fire last year. But with a different dynamic this time around, I think it would be a lot of fun. So anyway, that's what I hope happens. And I love this exchange here between Drew and Roman. Jey got involved, kind of talking shit. Got shoved down to the ground by Drew, setting up Drew and Jey, rather. Jey, Rey, Drew. There's a lot of short names on this show. And short people if you're Rey Mysterio. Sorry, Rey. But Drew and Rey Mysterio. Drew and Jey Uso. Why do I keep saying Rey Mysterio? He was on the show, though. Drew and Jey being set up for the main event. There we go. For later on in the night. So we also had an impromptu Intercontinental Championship match. Yeah, they did advertise it in advance, literally an hour before the show. An hour or two before SmackDown started, they tweeted out, we're getting Sami Zayn and Apollo fucking Crews for the Intercontinental Championship. Listen, I like Apollo Crews a lot. The guy is great. I actually really enjoyed his United States Championship reign earlier this year, for the few months it lasted for. The thing with Apollo Crews is he is another guy like Aleister Black. Even if Aleister was in the spot, I would see the exact same thing. He's another guy that has been completely irrelevant now for a month. He showed up on he got drafted to SmackDown. We haven't seen him since. He was in the exact same segment that Aleister Black was, I'm pretty sure. With the roster being introduced at the start of the show. We haven't seen him since. Same with Aleister. We have not seen those guys since. So for him to show up on SmackDown and not only just randomly, but also get a title shot for no reason was completely ridiculous. It was stupid. Even worse than that, it wasn't even a match. The match went 2 minutes. Sami Zayn tied up Apollo Crews' legs around the ring apron like a loser. I guess it makes Sami Zayn look smart because the guy's innovative and creative. I guess it does more to benefit Sami than it does Apollo, but it made Apollo look like a moron. And the match was over via countout because Zayn won via countout within like a matter of minutes. Just a complete waste of time. And I don't mind when they do title matches before a Survivor Series. The tease that it could be, oh my God, could you imagine? Could you imagine? I just realized this. Could you imagine if Apollo fucking Crews won the Intercontinental Champion on the show, won the Intercontinental Championship on the show? Listen, as cool as that would have been, it would have been Apollo Crews. Cool for him. But Apollo Crews versus Bobby fucking Lashley again, dude. He would have continued to feud with the Hurt Business if that happened. I'm thank God he didn't win here. But I'm just realizing that now that's what we would have gotten. So again, I don't mind when they do title matches before the pay-per-view. To tease, it could be this champion versus that champion instead. Apollo Crews and Bobby Lashley, no fucking thank you. But also, he didn't deserve the title shot. What we're getting on Monday with Drew and Randy in the Hurt Business and New Day, and I don't usually praise Raw, but that makes sense. I mean, Drew doesn't get an automatic title match, but he's been continuing to chase Orton since he lost the belt, so it makes sense to a certain degree. The Hurt Business even fucking beat the New Day a couple of weeks ago on Raw. So that makes even more sense. This made absolutely no sense. This was a complete waste of time. If it was a good match, I would probably not have as much of an issue with it. But it wasn't even a match. It was just a total waste. Speaking of waste, we also had Otis versus Dolph Ziggler in a WrestleMania rematch from earlier this year. You would never even know it from WrestleMania 36 just because both these guys have fallen so far. Now, granted, Dolph was never a top-tier talent in the last year anyway, but he was pretty prominently featured on the show leading up to WrestleMania, coming out of WrestleMania. Then he lost all those matches to Otis, and it's like, okay, I don't give a fuck about this guy. And I mean, we didn't really care to begin with. It was all about Otis. But Otis is really the one who suffered the downfall in 2020. He went from having all these great moments with Mandy, having the crowd behind him, getting the kiss from Mandy, becoming Mr. Money in the Bank, to then seeing Mandy get drafted to Raw, losing some television time, having his tag team partner Tucker turn on him and also get drafted to Raw, and lose his Money in the Bank briefcase. All in the span of like a month or two. Poor Otis. But he did beat Dolph here, thank God. It would have been a joke if he didn't, so thank God he beat Dolph. The real news was what happened afterward, backstage, was when Chad Gable, who we have not seen in several weeks, and I mentioned that last week, where the fuck is Chad Gable? Chad Gable was on the show this week, confronting Otis about joining the Alpha Academy. Basically, it looks like they want to have Chad Gable manage Otis. Now, I like this and I don't like this. I like the idea for a few reasons. One, they're both amateur Olympic wrestlers. I mean, I don't think Otis ever wrestled in the Olympics, obviously, but he did go to a training school at some of the same schools. They grew up near each other, I'm pretty sure, Gable and Otis. They're close friends in real life, I'm pretty sure. Very close. They have similar wrestling backgrounds, and the other reason is because even Otis said, he moved. I think Chad Gable actually said, and After the Bell recently, Chad Gable moved, or Otis moved to where Chad Gable is in Orlando, like right down the street when he found out where Gable lived, which is a little weird, but they're very close, so I get it. So I like it for that reason. It gives both guys something to do. The problem with this was that both of these guys have been tag team people before. I don't want to see a tag team. I don't want to see Gable as a fucking manager. I think it was the Solid Monster who actually pitched Jason Jordan coming back as a manager for Chad, and I really like that idea. Chad being a manager has potential, and it gets him on TV, I guess, but the guy should be pushed on his own. He's been in so many fucking tag teams with Bobby Roode, with Shelton Benjamin, with Jason Jordan, and he's had a lot of success, but the issue is that the guy's got to be pushed on his own. Shorty G, the guy's had not a lot of luck in recent years. He's got to be pushed on his own, okay? I don't want to see him paired off with someone else, be a manager or whatever, unless he's getting managed by a Jason Jordan or a Kurt Angle. I mean, again, this has potential. It could be fun. I would rather see both guys featured on their own. Another issue with this is that Tucker just broke up from Otis. Why break up one fucking tag team if you're just going to put another one together? Did Vince get tired of Heavy Machinery, so he wants Gable and Otis instead? Come on, man. Come on. Why even bother breaking up Heavy Machinery then? It's ridiculous to me, because Tucker's over on Raw getting beat in a matter of seconds by Ricochet. Why even break up the tag team? So again, I like it and I don't like it. We'll see where it goes. But it just begs the question, why even bother breaking up Heavy Machinery in the first place? So we got Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. One final time, we were told. The final chapter is what this is. That's what this was advertised as. Easy for me to say, I guess. No holds barred match. One last time. The feud's finally over. Thank the frickin' Lord. That's what they said here. They could always rekindle it soon. I heard reports that the feud might continue until January. Thank the Lord that's not the case. It's November. I cannot take another 2 months, let alone 2 weeks of this storyline. It's got to end. It's been going on since May. I thought it was a good match. Rey Mysterio did botch the 619 a lot like they botched the End of Days last week. That was embarrassing. This was embarrassing. The match was still good, though. I'd have to go back and watch the Eye for an Eye match. I mean, the stipulation sucked, but the match itself I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed this. And it had all the bells and the whistles of the Mysterio family who were at ringside interfering. Murphy was with Rollins before, seemingly about to help him before turning on him, which you had to know was inevitable. So Murphy turns on Rollins, costs them the win. Rey Mysterio wins. Thank God we can move on. We are getting Murphy and Rollins next week. Okay? Which is fine. I mean, hopefully, I said this a couple of weeks ago, but I want Murphy to beat Rollins on Rollins' way out if Rollins is going to be taking time off to go be with Becky Lynch as she has her baby pretty soon. So I like that. And if that's the final appearance from Rollins, I love it. That's exactly what I want to see him do on the way out. My issue with this is that the endgame of this whole angle, we've been asking for weeks, what's the endgame here? It was Murphy earning the blessing of the Mysterios. That's exactly what happened here. So afterward, Murphy gets embraced by the Mysterios. So let's backtrack here for a second. Murphy and Rollins make Rey Mysterio's life a living hell. Murphy assists Rollins in attempting to blind Rey Mysterio. Okay? He also helps Rollins make Dominic's life a living hell, the entire family's life a living hell. They tease some tension. Murphy breaks away from Rollins like a month ago. Not even, like 3-4 weeks ago. Like 3-4 weeks ago, I think. So, Murphy breaks away from Rollins, even faces him in a match. So, yeah, they did tease Murphy going back with Rollins last week, but it wasn't like they were in cahoots the whole time. Murphy did legitimately break away from Seth the first time. Now, the Mysterios, being smart people, did not immediately embrace Murphy just because he turned on Seth. Doesn't make the guy a good person for everything he did in the past, and also he's 30-2. Aaliyah, who he's apparently dating, because Aaliyah's in love with him, as she said on SmackDown a few weeks ago, made out with him, is 19. I don't like it. I think it's stupid. So they don't approve of it. They don't like it. Murphy is still not getting the acceptance from the Mysterios. Tease is going back with Rollins. They hate him even more, calling him like this, a rat the entire time. Again, turns on Rollins last night, and just because he turns on him a second time, the Mysterios are like, okay, you're cool. You can clearly tell they just want to get this shit over with and move on, because this made absolutely no sense. The whole thing is just stupid. The endgame was Murphy being accepted into the family. He's Murphy Mysterio now. He wasn't fucking talking smack with these people. Sticking out like a sore thumb with the 19-year-old girlfriend. What a weirdo. The whole storyline sucks. I like Murphy being a babyface, but being joined with Aaliyah, just a little uncomfortable. I don't know. I just thought the match was good, but just the endgame of this whole angle has been just incredibly stupid. The Rollins thing ran its course. Rollins put Rey over. He's going to put Murphy over very likely next week. I like that. The Aaliyah stuff has been completely butchered. It had no purpose to begin with. And now they're stuck in a storyline where Murphy has a 19-year-old girlfriend despite being 32 years old. It's fucking weird, dude. It's just fucking weird. So to finish off, we had what was supposed to be a triple threat to determine the next member of SmackDown's women's team at Survivor Series. Prior to this point, we only had 2 members announced. Team Raw announced their entire female team on night 1. We already know it's Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Lana, Shayna, and Nia. SmackDown has been very slow to announce who's going to be on their team. They got the 3rd member here. They have 2 more people to go next week. I mean, what are they doing over on Friday nights? So we already know that Bianca Belair is on the team, and Ruby Riott is qualified. Natalya complained again about not getting a fair shake because she wasn't pinned in either of the triple threat matches. She got another shot here, and I figured she would win. She didn't. Liv Morgan won. So it wasn't even a triple threat because before the match started, we see Adam Pearce backstage with Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green, who we have not seen, by the way, in almost 6 months. I think the last time we saw Chelsea Green on the show was when she teamed with Charlotte, which is how far ago this was, and it feels like a decade ago. She teamed with Charlotte on NXT. They beat, I want to say Rhea and maybe Shotzi, but I think it was Rhea and Io before like TakeOver in Your House or something. And they won, and then she dumped Robert Stone off air. And that was it. Because apparently it was being rumored that she was getting called up, which didn't make a lot of sense to me because there's already a lot of women they're not doing anything with. But SmackDown's women's division needs a lot of fucking help. So I like the move to call her up to SmackDown. She was supposed to be called up previously, be a part of Retribution, and then she wasn't. Just a nightmare. It was just a nightmare. Zack Ryder made some sort of comment in a tweet about how she was supposed to get called up and they taped a segment with her and then they cut it. So that's news to me. I didn't know that. She lost here. And even worse for Chelsea, she got hurt in this match. She broke her wrist. Oh my God, this girl's luck is just atrocious. She actually, I think, broke her wrist previously or sprained it in her first televised match like a year or so ago. She just can't catch a break. I mean, I guess literally she can, but not figuratively. She lost here. She was involved in the match for like the first 30 seconds, and that was it. So if you were wondering why she disappeared, even WWE confirmed she broke her wrist. She has a wrist injury. Hopefully she won't be out too long. But Liv Morgan did win, pinning Tamina, who was the other member of this Fatal 4-Way. So the Chelsea Green stuff was weird. Maybe she would have won had she not gotten injured. I don't know. But Liv Morgan does make sense just because Ruby's on the team, so it makes sense to have Liv on there too. They should have just qualified as a team, but whatever. As opposed to these fucking Fatal 4-Ways. So we get to the main event, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. Very good main event, very good match. Drew wins clean via pinfall. That was about it. Roman did come out ringside during it. Drew still won. And that was about it. They just kind of teased Drew and Roman for Survivor Series. Again, I like that a lot. I want to see that match. It's not like it's the first time ever, don't blow it off at Survivor Series. They're not on the same show right now. That's not the match they're going to do at WrestleMania, very likely. They've had matches before, including at WrestleMania last year. I know it wasn't the Drew that we're getting now, but I'm completely fine with them doing that at the pay-per-view. And even if Drew loses, I think that's a much better match than Roman and Randy, personally. And I don't think Randy should be champion anyway. Rectify that mistake on Monday night. But overall, I thought it was a good show. I thought the main event was good. The Chelsea Green debut was notable. Rey and Rollins was good. I just think the angle sucks. The whole Aaliyah bullshit. Otis and Ziggler was a waste, but at least Otis kind of got back on track. Andy's with Gable now, apparently. We'll see where that goes. Zayn and Cruz was a waste of time, but the opening segment was great. So I thought overall it was a good show. I forgot to mention, too, God, I don't know how I forgot about this, but Sasha Banks came out for a promo, and Bayley interrupted and Carmella laid her out. It was as simple as that. It was a very simple segment, further the feud between Banks and Carmella. I like that. Very short, sweet, to the point. I forgot to write that in my notes here. But speaking of Banks, very bizarre, and maybe not too bizarre because it's on an opposing streaming service, and Disney and Fox are rivals, but she was on The Mandalorian, I thought this was really cool. We already knew she was going to be part of the season of The Mandalorian. I won't specify what she did on the show exactly, but she was on The Mandalorian last night. She's in the fucking teaser picture on Disney+, so you know she's on the episode. And it aired that same day. They never even mentioned it. I don't think WWE even promoted it. Maybe they didn't, I missed something, but I don't even remember them promoting it on Twitter, on their website, which is bizarre to me, because it was like one of the most talked about things all day. Even cooler than that, she's a big Eddie Guerrero fan. Eddie Guerrero passed away 15 years to the day from Friday Night SmackDown. And she's a big Eddie fan. I don't know if she mentioned that at all in any post or whatever, but I thought that was really cool. For her to make her Mandalorian debut on the same day as Eddie passed away 15 years earlier, I thought that was pretty cool. Speaking of Eddie, by the way, Ray did pay tribute to Eddie. He botched the 619, but he did the frog splash to beat Seth after doing the Eddie taunt and looking up at the sky. So I thought that was really, really cool. Forgot to mention that as well. But overall, I thought it was a good show. Some pretty pointless stuff here and there, but overall, I thought it was a slightly above average show. Slightly good show. Not a great show, but pretty good. Definitely better than Raw, which is fucking abysmal right now. And there's 3 hours. There should be more I like about Raw than SmackDown, but there's just not. I still don't care about Survivor Series, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. SmackDown's doing its part. Raw needs to pick up the fucking pace, because Raw is just, again, almost unwatchable at this point. But that is my Friday Night SmackDown review for Friday the 13th, November 13th, 2020. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Check out all my other SmackDown reviews on the channel right here down below in the description box. Be sure to check out those from past weeks, blah, blah, blah. Check out all the other videos I got coming up here in the channel tomorrow, or actually later on today, probably right after this video goes up. My Talking Smack review from today. Tomorrow, Miz and Mrs. review, Total Bellas review. Monday, WWE Day of review. And Tuesday, the Brothers of Destruction review. So a lot of content coming up here on the channel. In addition to this past week, my exclusive interviews with one half of the NXT Tag Team Champions, Danny Burch, and SmackDown Superstar Bianca Belair. The audio of that interview is already up on the channel, so check that shit out as well. Yeah, that's about it, guys. So just have a great rest of your weekend. I got to get firing up on this PS2. I got to fire it up and start playing it. I'm super excited to be playing SVR 07 again for the first time in several years, specifically General Manager mode. I'm super pumped for that. You're talking about Raw and SmackDown going into Survivor Series. Who gives a shit? The only Raw and SmackDown that matters is in SmackDown versus Raw 2007, and I'm about to do that right now. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.